mean, the interactive guys think that the broadcast and traditional guys are just, head in the sand.
Trying to take the planet.
The TV guys think that the interactive guys are like, just, cocky, kind of dicks. So, when you can kind of bridge that gap
totally
and play like the middle person, be like, no. So you guys are talking about the same thing, but just this is how you activate it on the interactive side. And it would be similar to how you would do this on broadcast. And then they're kind of like, oh, I get it. Well, that's pretty cool. And then they want to learn about it. So I think that it's really imperative for you to know both, because there's going to be a huge transition. I mean, the older generation within older media types, and even on the client side, if you're going to be working in advertising, the people at the senior levels, the internet is new, and you're going to need to know.
Isn't that brilliant? It's 2010, the internet is new. I mean, it's totally true.
To them.
They're like, what is this?
I mean, if they're CMOs,
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
So you got to be able to bridge that gap that they have in terms of just vocabulary and concepts. So.
And any particular skill you had that lets you do that?
No.
Good,
My
then I
shaved
don't feel
head.
too bad. Yeah, that does help, actually. It makes it faster.
Yep.
How many engineers in the room? Anyone studying engineering? Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
There's a half
Okay, half an engineer. So yes, that's
An
my
advanced engineer.
that's my background. Mechanical, couldn't be further away from how do you design screws and components of stuff. It's very far away. But what's interesting is that a lot of engineering is systems related things. So it actually looks a lot very often like economics or a lot of other things in a different language, but you're basically trying to figure out how lots of parts sort of fit together and often where they broke and how you fix stuff. So a lot of, if you look at sort of the media landscape, there's a lot of that going on. Some stuff isn't moving the way other stuff would like it to move, and people are trying to figure out how to get everything working nicely again. But I think that I feel like media got a lot more analytical in the sense that, and I mean that actually in a very good way, because what it means is that people who are very creative, who enjoy doing creative work, can test a lot more stuff. And I think that sort of, in some ways, is scary for people, and I think that's, from an engineering perspective, that's basically what you do. Nothing's precious. You throw away prototypes and you don't mind. Whereas I think a lot of media became the thing that you publish is so precious, and you spend all this time sort of cleaning it and making sure that it's perfect. And then the internet came along and it's like, it's not really done, but we'll put it out and see if anyone likes it, and then we'll paint it afterwards and tweak stuff. And so I think that the engineering mindset actually is useful in that sense, because I don't mind if it's not done. And so everything that has beta on it, I'm like, yes, engineers. And so, I think that's useful. I think it's difficult when you print newspapers, for example. You have to be done, and then you have to sort of unlearn that, because it's not that was wrong. It was perfect for what you were doing, but online it just doesn't need to be that way, and it makes you slow, makes you unresponsive, and other things. So.
If you read, but there's a book by the guys that wrote Basecamp, 37 Signals, about developing web apps. Yeah, Getting Real.
Yep, love
It's
those
brilliant.
guys.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Recommend, 2 recommends, it sounds like.
What's the name of the book?
Getting Real. It's 37 Signals. Actually, they are, I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent. They're probably a great example of a company that isn't a media company, that's a great media company.
Yeah.
So they make software for a living, but actually do really cool. Their book's great, their blog's great. They do video out. I mean, they do a bunch of things that are very media company-esque, and yet they don't try and make any money from that. They make money from selling software.
And I would reiterate, translating is a critically important thing. Knowing, and I'll give you a couple of examples. Being able to map for somebody. We do the magazine websites, but that's actually only about 40% of our total uniques. 2 years ago, we inherited 6 million uniques from iVillage. Now we're at 42 million for the last 90 days. Omniture numbers, which is what we use internally. So ComScore take like half of that. But for our own tracking, we've grown very quickly. Only about 40% of what we do is the magazine sites. But the magazine sites get significant engagement, and for a magazine company are critically important. Being able to explain to print editors and prove the data out, because ultimately my team does advice and consult with the print team, but we control what goes on the websites. And some of it's the same and a lot of it's different. and 80% of the time spent on our sites is with content on the magazine sites. 80% of the time spent is with the original content. It's with interactive content. That's why you're at a website. Being able to translate, to explain to an editor, okay, when you put a headline up there, the headline is great and catchy, but nobody's going to search on that. They're not going to search on great holiday frocks. They're going to search on cocktail dresses. How do you translate that in a way that you're going to win in search? Because you're not trying to win on a newsstand. You're trying to win in search. Or being able to explain to people. So I think that translation skill is critically important. I think it's also critically important to have a business model translation. Is there a reason that the traditional side cares at all whether you succeed? Are you a rival or are you a help? And if you can't translate the business side, then you're always a rival, and that will make the internal competition worse. We sell our advertising differently. On the print side, the publishers sell about 15% of our total. We sell to digital agencies, digital programs. It's largely bought differently. We sell as a network at scale. So we're different. So the traditional side doesn't necessarily, we do coordinate, but that's not the majority of what we do. Where it matters for us and what has helped us politically within the building is that we now sell the majority of, the largest source of subscriptions to our print products is actually selling it online. So we've converted the channel of how people buy subscriptions, not to digital products, but to good old-fashioned magazines. Last year, a quarter of all of our subscriptions were sold by the digital team. This year, we're running about 40-some%. It is clear that next year, half of all of our new subscribers are going to, Dead Tree products, half of those subscribers are going to be sold
It's a good name
online.
for a publisher.
Pardon?
It's a good name for a publisher. Dead Tree Products. I like
Dead
it.
Tree products. So from a business standpoint, the traditional side really cares because we are saving them millions of dollars. Whatever that model is, that the traditional side needs to care, because otherwise, it's a fight for resources. You have to give them a reason for you to succeed that they appreciate, because otherwise, it's just a fight for resources.
I want the four of you to think back over the past year and tell us what are you proudest of? What was like your biggest success in the past year in this arena? What was the home run that you hit?
A lot of singles, a lot of doubles.
You can go.
No, I mean, I use that examples of the singles and doubles, but I'd say for us it's consistency. A lot of our day-to-day clients that we deal with are not sexy. One of our major clients is S.E. Johnson, so we're figuring out ways to push out branding for products like Windex and Ziploc, and that's difficult to do and stay creative. One of the bigger ones, and I'm so sick of this example because I have to use it internally all the time. I feel like, Bon Jovi when they have to play one of their hits from the 80s at every concert, and it's like, I'm so sick of this, but I got to do it. It was basically an extension of the program The Biggest Loser on NBC. As part of that purchase on air where they had product integration into the show, there was a required expenditure online, and we actually pushed NBC into the realm of producing their first ever sponsored widget. And it's kind of cool when you think about it, NBC, a major media company, and being their first ever widget. Basically what the widget was the ability to track your weight loss over weeks. We would update it weekly with ways that you could integrate the product into dieting, so whether it be snacking control, things like that. And they actually proved out the sales spikes between, a couple of things. Anytime there's a product integration on air, we saw a major spike in our widget downloads online, and they also saw a major spike in sales at retail. So anytime you kind of have that perfect storm where you can connect all the dots and all the things go up when they're supposed to go up, that's a major success. But I would say kind of just bringing that creativity every day.